All right, you guys, I'm so excited that we're going to have Maddie do a film breakdown. This is the first time we're ever doing something like this. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm really excited for Maddie to be able to break down this really important play in her season, which I think was a culmination of all of your hard work in the summertime. I can break down film as much as I can, but being in your shoes and seeing what you're seeing, I think people and goalkeepers can relate a lot to your decision making process. So I'm excited. I'm just going to show the clip real quick for the people who want to see this fantastic save that Maddie made against Clemson. And it was the first game of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, first game of the year. So we'll take a quick look at it. And then let's just talk first, Maddie. How would you have solved this if you were yourself from like last season before you did your internship with us?
Yeah, it's really funny because I'm in the middle of making my highlight tape right now for going pro, and I just watched almost the exact same clip, and thankfully the goal was called offsides, but the girl just chips it right over me as I try to smother the ball. So it was, and that was literally last night. And I
Yeah.
was like, I watched that back, and in that mo same moment, I was like, wow, the amount of things I would change because if she would have just hit my chest if I had the tool of
Mhm.
spreading in that moment or even just staying big and not going down. So it is crazy to see how much I've changed and smother was pretty much the only tool I had in my box for any kind of 1v1 situation.
Okay, so let's bring it to this play. So, your team is it seems like your team is completely dominating, which you guys did, but this is a very good Clemson team, like very good Clemson team. And so they have very threatening attackers. So there's a little combination play on the top of the box. So right now in your head, like what is important or what are you thinking about?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the our outside back is keeping that one player on sides, even though she's kind of tracking. The Clemson player does have a foot. So I think that was the biggest thing I was focused on in that moment because she's the girl with the ball is back to goal. So, and we had a player on her back as well. So she was going to slip a player in, but she had no opportunity to shoot. So my biggest thing was making sure that I was in a position to close the space. Obviously, this girl gets the ball with no opportunity to shoot. We have a player closing, but there's that other player running straight in behind, which is kind of when I take my first step to close because my defender can't do anything except keep her forcing her one direction, which she did a great job of. But then the biggest thing, as this was my first time ever spreading in a game, so I can be nitpicky and be like, I wish I would have done this, this, and this. But the biggest thing in that moment was literally I took a flight or fight like way, and I just went out and made myself as big as possible. And I think I also you can see how her body rotates to go far post almost right away. She can't almost get that ball near post just based on her positioning. So making sure that I took away the far post with my foot, almost baiting her that direction, which it all worked out in my favor. But I think if I could go back, I would play with my angles a little bit more. But in that moment, I was just let's get as big as possible and see what happens. And that's kind of the only things going through my mind in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, like when you're in the play right now, this player really can't shoot. So it's not like you're guessing that she's gonna play it in behind the back line, but it seems like you're anticipating, you're waiting for that moment to come out and be aggressive.
Yeah, so when she has that ball, she's almost fully stretched out and like almost toe pokes it behind. I mean, I think it was a toe poke.
Yeah.
So obviously she can't get that on frame at all, even if she wanted to, with any kind of power. So I knew almost immediately when she was stretched for that ball, it was going to go in behind. So I wasn't in a runner stance just based on the way the ball was placed before. Obviously, I didn't know it was not going to go straight to her feet, but she could have shot it if that girl got it to her feet. So right when it was going to be out of her range is kind of when I started not cheating because I think that doesn't give credit to the play that I was making or the situation, but I started making my move to go have the ball going behind and start cutting the angle also based on what my defenders were giving me as well.
Right. And then obviously this was your first spread of a couple this season. And can you just kind of speak to how you've grown in that capacity this season in terms of the mental piece of it as well as the speed in which you're making these decisions?
Yeah, I think after this play especially, I was just like overcome with like a lot of pride and just so happy with the way that I've grown and more so just the whole person that I'd become over the summer. I felt like that play was so much more than just like a cool save for me. It was just like a really awesome moment for all the hard work that I'd put in. And so there was so much like happiness and great like pride. And I think after that, I watched it back and it was all those like immediate feelings. But now I was like, hey, I did it. So now what next? Like I wanted it to be perfect. And obviously that's not perfect. And doing something perfect is not easy by any means. Um, so now all season I've been kind of, and throughout our practices, been trying to really focus on the angle of approach because I think in that moment I went and I immediately spread at her, or that was my intention at least, and I didn't really have much angle play that I wish I would have had, I guess. And so then fast forward to SEC play, I had a spread against Florida and it was like so amazing. But the best part was I had really played with my angles. And so when she went far post, I was like so happy because I was like, I made her do that. And that was the first time that I was like, I was so intentional about my movements and it made her do exactly what I wanted. And I've never like seen it in a capacity like that before. And so it was a different kind of pride for myself. Like, wow, like I changed my intentions. Like my first intention was just like to do it and I did it. So then what next? And my next intention was to really make them do what I want. And I had done that. And so I feel like just as I'm like growing, like changing my intention with what I want out of the movement has been so important because just being like, I want it to be perfect the first time is what we all wish it would happen, but it's just never going to happen that way. So
Right.
like nitpicking the little things that I can like control. And so it's been a really long process and like learning how much control the player has over the ball, the angle that they're coming at the goal has over the ball, and everything in between. I've done a lot of different practicing and I think more failing than I've ever done in a in season experience before. I feel like when you're in season, you're like the day before the game, it has to be perfect because that's how I'm going to play the next day if it's perfect. And I think this year I've kind of taken a step back from that and being like, today I messed up, I failed, but let me like I realize that, recognize it, and then tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's game day. Like let's ride, kind of thing.
Well, I heard so many really good things in there that I feel like this little conversation is way more important than just the tack part of spread, but the curiosity, the ability to handle failure, the ability to not only handle failure but expect it that it's going to come. The curiosity in terms of, well, what about if I change my angle of approach? How can I control the situation more? The questioning and the depth of like really trying to interrogate those little curiosities, I think, is something that whether you're 8 or the best in the world is something that you need to have in your game or
Yeah,
you aspire to have. You aspire to have that mental strength in order to really really investigate your game and add more pieces where maybe you already feel really comfortable with where you are, but you could take your game to a next level if you have the mental strength to be able to overcome the day-to-day failures essentially, or the mistakes, or the goals conceded.
yeah. It's not easy, but it
Yeah.
helps.
It really does. Maddie, thanks for hopping on. This was our first breakdown ever, so you're part of TKI history.
It's an honor.
But good luck. You have a game tomorrow. Who do you play?
We play Georgia. I
Okay, that'll
forgot,
be
but I
good.
just remembered. Put me on the spot.
Because it's about you. Yeah. Well, good luck in your match, and we're always cheering for you.
Thanks. I appreciate you all. Have a great day.